Hey, coach, it's Mandy Green from Busy Coach and Tutor Collegiate Strategies. I recently did a webinar called Getting to a Decision Sooner. I did this with the group that I train, Recruiting Made Simple, where we break down simple little things with the recruiting process, take a big complex process and try to make it smaller and more simple. One of the things that I brought up, I'm not going to go through the whole presentation, but one of the things that I brought up was how to get recruits to make decisions quicker, get on offense versus defense. If you want decisions sooner, being on defense is being that coach that is sitting back and, oh, pat myself on the back. I did a great job. I got them to campus. I told them everything they need to know. So I'm just going to sit back over here and I'm going to wait and I'm not going to bother you. That is not a good strategy for getting recruits to decide sooner. What I want and what I encourage on this webinar coaches to do is to go on the attack. I want you on offense. I want you to be intentional and proactive about what you're doing, because when you do that, you will be in control. Somebody is in control of this recruiting process, and I want it to be the coaches, not the student athletes. One big concept that I brought up that is, a big reason why I find that coaches fail to get decisions sooner and the recruiting process takes forever is they're not putting in the time, right? I don't know if you can see that with my picture here, but they're not putting in the time. A little bit here, a little bit there of recruiting is not a way to build a powerhouse program or build your program up quickly. We've got to put in the time. And my favorite concept is blocking the time. I want you to be thinking about, and so blocking the time means that you are intentionally on your schedule, just like you would practice. You are, taking one segment of your day and you are doing nothing else but your recruiting. That's all you're doing. I found when I first started blocking, I tried 1 hour, 5 days a week, and it worked okay. I certainly made some progress, but where I made massive progress is when I blocked off 2, 3, 4, half a day, a full day. All I did was recruiting, trying to get progress and make sure that I was moving things along quickly. Another concept that I want you to think about, two other things I want you to think about: not all time is created equal. You probably find that you might be more fresh at 7 a.m. than you are at 7 p.m., right? Something that you attempt to do at 7 p.m. at night might take you 5 hours to do, where if you did it at 7 in the morning, it might only take you 2 hours, right? So make sure as you're blocking the time, make sure that you're being intentional, go on the attack with your schedule and make sure that you're finding the time where you're blocking it off, where your focus is good, your energy is good, and you get the fewest amount of distractions, right? That's key. The third concept that I want you to think about as you're putting in the time, right, to make progress on your recruiting in an effort to get these kids to make decisions quicker is not all tasks are created equal, right? There are hundreds of things you could do in the recruiting process, but there's really only a few things that move the needle and get kids to move along in the process faster. So for example, I always use the example of when I'm talking about to-do lists and results lists. The example of, meeting to talk about recruiting, or I'm working on I'm organizing my recruiting database, right? That's not recruiting. Recruiting is getting your top 10 kids who haven't come to visit campus yet, get those kids scheduled. That is a result. That is a higher value task that creates movement in the process, right? Is just talking about recruiting is not recruiting, right? We got to create movement with these kids. So my advice to you, right, if you're not seeing the progress that you want to be making with your recruiting is, right, as simple as, are you putting in the time that you need to make the progress that you're after? Block it. Be very intentional. Again, go on the attack. Intentionally block it off like you would practice. Nothing moves practice, right? No calls, extra calls, no random things, people stopping by, nothing, right? This is when you're working on recruiting. This is when you're building your program. I've seen coaches that I think that the length and the success of your career is dependent on your ability to recruit student athletes. It's kind of important. Block it off on your schedule and nothing else gets in the way. You'll find just doing that even 1 day a week, you're going to make more progress, right? And then not all time is created equal. Not all tasks are created equal, right? You might be putting in the time, but if you're not doing the right things, you're not going to make progress. So just a little bit more thought, a little bit more intention. Think about going on the attack versus sitting back and just waiting and playing defense and waiting for the recruit to do, what you want them to do next, right? Fingers crossed. And I hope it works out. It's not a good recruiting strategy, right? So be intentional about what you're doing, and you're going to make more progress much faster in this recruiting process.